Ted, Gail, we got your test results back, and unfortunately they're not good. You are a full-on basic vet.
Doctor, there has to be some mistake.
Mistake. You're wearing an operator's hat, and you were in finance. You use veteran-owned beard oil for the worst excuse for facial hair that I've ever seen. And you tell anyone that will listen that you give no fucks.
0 fucks given.
Look at what you're wearing. Tactical pants, tactical belt, 2 extra mags. You're open carrying in my office. That's a felony, Ted.
Well, you know what? I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
This is very serious. Very seriously basic. Are you showing any other basic symptoms?
Well, I guess when people disagree with me, I call them snowflakes. And I watch, in quote, Range 15 a bit.
Probably rip on people that don't own guns. Call your significant other household 6. Scream pew, pew, pew every time you orgasm. This is some serious basic shit, Ted. The good news is there's still hope for you. If you can wean yourself off of combat veteran and Yusha Thomas videos on YouTube, if you can cut back your grunt style and Ranger Up t-shirt wear to 4 days a week, if you can limit yourself to 1 or 2 secret veteran Facebook groups, we might be able to save your personality.
There's something else. Sometimes I get a feeling kind of right here when a certain person is on television. I think I have a crush on General Mattis.
Oh, that shit is so basic.
Ted, you've got to be upfront about all this basic vet shit. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures. And what I want you to do is I want you to tell me the very first thing that comes into your head.
Okay. Breakfast of Champions. America's most trusted news network. You got me. Best joke ever. Celebrity Hall Pass.
I have one more photo for you. It's a picture of a couple of celebrity vets. I want you to tell me who you think would win in an eating contest.
Fuck you! Fuck you for making me choose. I'll never choose.
Do you hear yourself, Ted? You're a grown man and you have serious issues with a celebrity eating contest. Look at me, Ted. This is stage 4 veteran basic behavior.
You always did take Black Rifle Coffee too seriously.
It's roasted in freedom.
The real victim here, Ted, is Gail. Basic vets spend their days drinking JMO with unearned arrogance. She's the one who has to pretend not to be humiliated when you interrupt her friends, her family, her co-workers with your endless soliloquies that begin with, well, as a veteran, I think, even though you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, God.
And when she tries to quietly stop you, what's your response? I'm on the tip of the spear, baby. Household 6, she should be with the gear. In the rear? Instead of seeing her as your partner, instead of seeing her as a hot piece of ass, you see her as a simple supply chain. An S4.
Not even an S3?
No, not even a 3-shot. An S4, sister. Because he's basic. Basic as fuck.
You know what? No. I want a second opinion.
You know he has Matt Best photos all over the house.
So what? I'm just a fan. I like Range 15.
He made him naked in every single one.
I just wanted to improve.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Gonzo, with the Looking Glass. Uh, that video's got so much wind on it. I seen that this morning, and it's too perfect. I mean, there's too many basic vets out there. Don't be no basic vet. It's getting bad. That epidemic's getting bad. It's getting ridiculous, and it's a pity part that needs to stop, man. I mean, it seems like shut up, Jack. It seems like too many people this time of year, I guess, the holidays are shutting down. They're starting to have issues. They're starting to experience the holidays, which in my opinion is just when families like to make each other suffer through seeing each other. Because if I like you, I'll see you during the year, and if I don't, I won't. Why would I take a day to sit with you when I don't want to anyways? But I guess that's family, that's holidays, yay. But it tends to make people depressed. It tends to make people do things they normally wouldn't, act out. A lot of guys get depressed. I mean, we've lost a few guys this month already, you know, so it's getting serious, but I don't understand why all the way, I guess. Let's see, what's going on, comments? All right, but yeah, so I just wanted to touch on that a little bit, on that defeated mentality. I recently had to have, you know, my 4 therapy appointments or whatever, so that way I could still be certifiably crazy or whatever for the VA. And the first initial appointment I had with my therapist, she said, you know, what are we going to work on? What is there? What do you need? I said, nothing. I said, I need 4 sessions so that way I can certify for the VA, and I'm good. I go, so if you need, you know, to get some extra work done, if you want to take a longer lunch, you know, it's all good. And so she wouldn't let me do that, but she did say that we could talk, and if there wasn't nothing to talk about, then I could leave. That it was, you know, it was my session, and I could stay as long as I wanted to, which was good. And I tried it out one time. I did just leave, and she didn't give me no grief about it. But the thing I liked was that when I went in there and I told her that, she said, okay. And she said, well, so you don't have any problems? And I said, well, no, that's not what I said. I said that, you know, I've identified as many issues as I feel like I can, and I've worked on the ones I feel like I should. I go, I'm trying on some of the ones I still haven't accomplished. And the rest of the problems, well, those are other people's problems, and I don't care. I was like, so I go, I'm good with those. And she laughed, and I go, but right now, I go, there's nothing to complain. You know, I go, there's some things that are upsetting me. I go, but it's something that a normal, everyday person would be mad at, not just because I'm a vet that I'm pissed off. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot where I was going with that. English. I'm sorry, I spaced it. So anyways, been a long day. Back to the defeated mentality. People just keep playing into it, and they become victims and in their own head, and it's like they're incapable of seeing anything else. And when people begin to dwell on things, it's unhealthy. I mean, it's nothing good comes from dwelling. You're basically just bitching without any movement. I mean, you're not making any steps towards making anything better. You're just repeating the fact that things suck. That's what I hear every time I hear somebody complain about something. It's like someone's just following me around going, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. But for no reason. If you're not going to tell me what's going to fix it, then what, you know what I mean? What are we doing? So it's getting old, though, and it seems like this time of the season it brings it out, and I don't understand why. I was having a good conversation today with a friend that's a psychologist or whatever, or yesterday, and we were going back and forth debating over like treatment and stuff, you know. And at the end of the day, I guess my treatment plan sounds kind of like a lot of suppression and avoidance if, you know, you go that clinical route. But I don't know. I think that there's something to it. I think I think that the guys are getting stuck into a cycle of getting on the meds, and then they get this panic of needing the meds. And when you really look at it, I know for myself, you know, I had one for anti-anxiety and one for, I don't know, a mood stabilizer or something. And I had like 2 or 3 that were legitimately for an ailment that was sustained from combat. Within months, I had three to 4 times that meds off of those meds. Those meds made me need other meds because my stomach started messing up. So they gave me something for that. And then I couldn't sleep. So they gave me something to sleep, but then I couldn't wake up. So they gave me something to wake up. And it just kept going and going and going instead of saying, hey, let's switch this. Let's try something different. That was like unheard of. And you can see the panic in some of these guys' eyes if you talk about, you know, cutting them down or taking them down. I know when they just had that law passed recently where they started cutting guys' scripts and stuff, there was a lot of panic. There was a lot of chaos because people were afraid. They were afraid to lose that pill. And I mean, if you think about it, there's no money in a cure. You know what I mean? Like, they're making patients out of you. I think that medications have a place to calm me down. I know when I first started treatment, I wouldn't have been able to sit there and pay attention as well. I wouldn't have been calm enough. I was too angry. I was too focused on just destroying stuff. So I needed that sedative to like tranquilize me and kind of calm me down for a minute. But once I was calm enough to pay attention, it was just starting to hinder me. It was starting to somewhat calm me, where there's parts of my life I don't even remember. You know, I was on the legal max dose of like 9 milligrams of Xanax a day, which I was doing probably double that. And it's a good 2-year block of my life I don't remember. I got pictures. I got an associate's degree. I got promoted. So, I mean, I was there and I was doing well, but it wasn't me. Like, I don't know. So, I don't know. It's getting frustrating, and it doesn't seem like there's an end. And everybody keeps talking about, oh, cannabis is going to be legalized soon. This is true, but at the same time, the U.S. government's had the patent for, I don't know, about 20 years now on CBD and the effects and its you know, uses medically. And they've done nothing with it. It's the United States government and I want to say the Joint Special Forces Task Force for Research or some stuff that have the patent on it. So if we've had the patent on it for over 20 years, why are we still fighting it? And it's because it's something you could grow in your backyard and not get taxed or not tax on it, and the government doesn't get their share, and the government doesn't like that. The government has to get theirs. So they've been sitting on the patent, in my opinion, till they can corner the market best as possible, which I've been seeing things about starting up like it's supposed to be like a DEA, but for cannabis, and it's going to have its own little cannabis czar or task force and all that stuff to regulate its recreational use, to where it can be grown, how it can be grown, you know, all that stuff is going to be regulated by a bureau now, supposedly. So that just means more law enforcement. That just means another way of getting money out of us. Because all they do is just let these drug dealers build up. They watch them, and then they're like, all right, we need more money. Go search and seizure, and then they pull the money out, and that's how they get their laundered money, is because they just pull it off the streets and then take the evidence number off it. MedSec, you tell docs how you feel, and they put you away until. And see, and that's the thing, is that with a lot of doctors, there's like a script that they follow. It's like a template. And you just kind of follow in this template, and you're checking boxes for him whether you know it or not. And it's like, does he have this? Yes. Does he have that? No. Does he have this? Yes. And then at the end it goes, congratulations, you've won number 8. And they tell you to prescribe you number 8. So, you know, it's like you're telling them what to give you without really telling them if you know what they're asking you. Which is a whole other thing that pissed me off this weekend. Or not this weekend, but probably about 2 weeks ago. I had to do my intake for the caregiver program, and we had to do the teleconference thing, you know, through the Skype or whatever. And for one, I could have swore the chick was right next to us. I mean, it sounded like she was right there. The room looked the same. But it's very impersonal. It's kind of awkward because you're talking to a computer screen, like I am now. And but the people, for one, don't interact with you the same as they would in person. You know, and I have a problem with that. I don't like when people get lippy on the phone, or you know, they get ballsy when they're not face to face. And then when you get face to face, their whole demeanor changes. They're willing to do more for you, at least in my opinion, in my case. And so it was already starting off bad. And I mean, when this alleged psychologist is asking me how many times I use cannabis a day, and I said copious, and she said, "Great, how many times do you use copious a day?" I don't know how to explain copious, so I just told her between 5 and 6 p.m. So I smoke copious between 5 and 6 p.m. and that's it, according to the VA now. But and they're ridiculous enough to just chalk it up. Yep, that's what you put. But they won't give me their drugs while I'm on cannabis too, so that's why I'm very open about my smoking. So anybody out there that really wants to quit and is kind of having a hard time or having their doubts about, you know, relapsing or whatever, just tell the VA that you're smoking weed. You're doing the reefer, and they won't prescribe you any narcotics. They'll give you a bunch of like NSAIDs and a bunch of the dumb stuff that they can't even test for anyways to see if you're using. But they won't give you, by law, they can't give you anything that's narcotic because this narcotic overshadows it, I guess. I don't know. Really, no comments? Nobody's got nothing yet? You didn't know what Lopez? Oh, and fun fact, the little military event that I did go to this week, about 2 weeks ago, I walked in there smelling like myself, and I did start a 100% UA, so that's pretty awesome. I was pretty proud of myself on that one. Oh yeah, I had set up. I could go to my page that I created that kind of further explains kind of the vets and what they're going through, I guess. It's a page I created called What's After Awesomeness, because it was the best title I could come up with. And this was my representation of what I felt like troops came back from war with. You know, I laid out my daily dose of what I was supposed to be taking, and some of the awards and medals I had gotten and decorations, and coupled it up with memorials and tributes that we had to some of our guys. And basically for every bottle I had a medal. And you know, a lot of people, they see they see military medals and they just think, oh, that's cool, those are awesome. But I don't know, when I see them, I see days guys didn't make it home. You know, those weren't good days. Those were days that we were at our best on bad days. So they kind of have a different meaning, at least for me. But it would explain why there were so many bottles, because there's so many awards. You know, in theory, the less awards would be, I don't know, less pills. But then again, I've met some guys that have just as deep issues and suicidal ideations as guys that deployed, guys that never deployed, because they got a guilt of not, I guess, fulfilling their duty, or not being on the team and not getting to play, I guess. I forgot already, right? It happens all the time. But so this just the site goes through the stages of how they kind of bring you in. The photos that I used were from what was his name? I can't remember his name right now, but it's credited in there. He did a great photo spread of military families and stuff doing this double occupation thing where they're in uniform, and then it shows like their reality, you know. So sometimes they'll be in uniform, and in the mirror it's their civilian side, or if they're in their civilian side, it'll be the military in the mirror. And it's some pretty powerful stuff. Some of the pictures, they're moving. So this one was just kind of a just brief explanation of PTSD and kind of what it is. And then when you first go in, they break you down with legitimate domination. The drill sergeant comes in and he's screaming at you, and he's dictating every movement that you have, everything you're wearing. I mean, everything you do is dictated by a drill sergeant or a drill instructor. And they do this because they need absolute, commitment. They need you to trust them, and they need you to obey orders without hesitation. And people think, oh, it's because they want you like a dog. Well, it's because if I tell you that we're taking this house, I need you to move and take this house, whether they're firing at us or not, without hesitation, out of habit. Because when the rounds are firing, you're going out of habit. You're going out of reflex. You're going out of, training. So the way you train is the way you're going to fight. So they're really hard on you there, and it's for a reason. And, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing, where everybody hates the drill sergeant because they're such dicks. Everybody bonds together basically in their hate against them. Same reason why guys will hate their first sergeants and their sergeant major stuff, because they're at the top. They need that separation, and they need to give the guys that common enemy. Habitus, it's just saying that we're a culmination of our experiences, of our surroundings, of everything that we've been through, and our surroundings and where we're at the time. So it really becomes an issue when, if you're hypervigilant and you're downrange, then that's expected. That's being alert. That's stay alert, stay alive. But if you're the same type of hypervigilant when you're at home in a different type of habitat, that's when it becomes a problem, because, ducking under the fruit stand and stuff kind of is frowned upon in some establishments. But so, I mean, if you watch the company you keep, if you watch where you're at, and I think that's another issue guys have, they'll sit at home, and how do you go from, serving your country, fighting overseas, to sitting on the couch, locked away in a dark room? Like, it doesn't work out. You'll go stir crazy very quickly. But I think a lot of guys get so far out by themselves, and they don't know where anybody's at anymore, that they kind of forget where they're at, and they don't know how to get back. They don't know how to reach out to guys anymore. Third world, it kind of is just talking about how you become like this subaltern, you become this different group because of the experiences that you've been through, because of the training, because of everything, and you become this segregated group. And that's one thing I have an issue with, is I hear so many vets running around talking about how they want to be equal, and they want to, just be left alone and treat like everybody else, but want to get a discount everywhere, and want to, wear veteran-only attire and go to veteran-only events, and, if it's not made in America, then we're not messing with. Like, you can't sit there and say that you want to be treated like everybody else, and then strictly support only, veteran stuff. I mean, I get that we need to be with our own because we understand each other, but that's different than saying, we want to be treated equal, but we want to do our own stuff. And I think that the military could help a lot of first responders and vice versa with the transition, because, believe it or not, there's a lot of similarities in that transition, from going from life-saving to retirement. It's a really drastic switch. And double consciousness, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's where you're living in a manner that you weren't raised, or that you don't feel comfortable with, but you're there, and you realize you're there, and you're fighting with it because you're having a conscience. Vivek, Russian one, talks about the subaltern, about how we become our own little subgroups. And then I want to say moral conscious, same thing as the other one. And then the last one is mine, the Gonzo theory, which just talks about what I told you with pills. Always talking, always talking. I'm gonna go ahead and am I gonna speak to the doctors about weed? Yeah, well, so my psychologist asked me if I would be willing to speak. Yeah, it was my psychologist, in front of a panel of psychologists, because she said that I have a way of thinking, I guess, that they need to hear, I guess. And I don't really know what it was that triggered it, but I guess I have some pretty abnormal responses to a lot of their questions, and I'm not afraid to speak it. And like I said, I feel like they're going about things all wrong. If you go in there and you try to tell the average therapist that you're good, that everything's going fine, you're either gonna be cured, and they're gonna tell the VA you're cured, and you're gonna get your rating dropped, or they're just gonna push. They're gonna say they're not gonna let you get away with that. I've had therapists before that would not let me out of the office without giving them 2 issues. Like, I could be doing great. I still had to give them 2 issues. And I'm like, why would you put somebody back in that place for no reason? If it's not really helpful. I feel like the exposure therapy that they do is pretty much what we relive in our nightmares. And you know, if you're having flashbacks and stuff, that's exposure therapy, in my opinion. You're reliving that again. You're not as cognizant of it, but you're reliving it. I know. It's been a lot because I've been dealing with these doctors, and they got me thinking, because it's they just keep going with the same script over and over again, and we came back from this war with wounds that were unseen before, because you know, a lot of the stuff that we lived through, the guys would have died in the previous wars because they didn't have the same body armor and vehicles we had. So now they're coming back with bruised brains and stuff, and you know, they don't know how to handle it. They were able to protect the outside, but they couldn't protect the inside. So now we're trying to figure it out as we go. Throwing pills at it didn't work, and that was what I was a product of. But they're figuring that out now. I just found out that the anthrax they gave us, that they made us get, was not FDA approved at all, and they couldn't give it to us again. So interesting to see what that's going to do. Probably the Agent Orange, but all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do some commercials.
Was a nation of independents who made the choice to make their lives and their families' lives better. Always moving forward, never retreating, never giving up. We carry on that tradition today. Fight on, break through, never quit. This flag isn't backwards, it's assaulting forward. We are grunt style, and this will defend.
20 veterans a day commit suicide. 20 a day. Active Heroes, a 501c3 charity, is on a mission to end veteran suicide with peer mentors like you. For a $30 donation, you can become a trained and certified peer mentor to help heal local vets and their families. Join now and be listed on the Active Heroes resource map to connect with local vets. Or make a one-time donation of $30 to sponsor training and certification of a peer mentor. Visit activeheroes.org to join and learn more. activeheroes.org.
So go back to my dad's question. So yeah, I will speak on cannabis and its effects, especially compared to the way that they're used. I mean, they're trying to take a brain that's already considered to be chemically altered or dysfunctional and alter it. So there's no guarantee on what that's going to do to you, because they're altering the chemicals in your brain, the way that they're produced, the way that they're distributed. So how can they not expect that to have serious side effects? You know, whereas cannabis, it basically just turns on the part of your body that regulates everything. So instead of flooding your system with stuff it doesn't need, it just gets the stuff going that you do need, or shuts off stuff that you're getting excess of, and doesn't burn out receptors and stuff. So I mean, there's a huge difference in just the application of it. That they just keep acting like it's not there, and I think it's because of the catch-22 of it's still illegal federally, so they won't recognize any research, because it comes down to where'd you get your weed, and if you can't provide legit legal sources, which you can't because it's not legal yet, then your research is invalid. So they got decades and decades of research already stacked up, but none of it's acceptable because they can't verify where they got the weed from, which is a sorry excuse, especially when the government already has that. And another thing that I want to talk about is they wanted to talk about how to relate with guys, how to you know, get them to open up more. and I think that just comes with better therapists. That's not something I don't think you can teach. I think that's something that life brings with just experience. Because if you've been through enough, then you can usually relate with somebody on some level, and if not, then I mean, there's no relating, and I mean that's okay. That's guys come back and they say nobody gets me, nobody understands me. I can't talk to the therapist because they don't know what it's like, you know, to get shot at or whatever. But they don't have to, you know. That's why we went, was so that others didn't have to. So why would you come back and be upset that, you know, people don't understand now? Just take it as a compliment that you did your job well, and they're still blissfully ignorant. But people get upset and they start throwing fits over it, and I don't know. I'm a little frustrated. Had a bad day trying to work it out, but I'm tired. Alright. I'm gonna cut out because I'm tired and I lost my thought.